South Park is the most culturally relevant show of all time. From the Jonas Brothers to Ozempic, it's pretty much had its finger on the pulse of anything and everything that has ever had a shred of cultural significance. But when a show like that gets as popular as it does, something funny happens. It becomes a part of culture itself. Today, South Park isn't just the one making references to other media anymore, because now the media is referencing South Park. You can find references in shows, you can find them in movies, you can find them in music, but for the sake of this video, I specifically want to take a look at the many songs that have referenced South Park over the years. Partly because I'm a music-loving guy, but mostly because all the other types of South Park reference videos have already been done and this is the only one left. Yeah, I want a piece of that action, sue me. But here's the thing, I have done some deeper research into this topic, and I think I've found some examples that most people don't know about. I got more than just Eminem songs on here, I promise. But enough stalling. Nobody likes an intro that goes on for too long, so let's get this show on the road and take a look at the songs that reference South Park. Now, if you're a kid watching this video, you might not know much about how big this band used to be, but once upon a time, in a world that was ruled by pop punk, Blink-182 was the biggest band in the world. And at the height of their popularity, they actually had a lot in common with South Park. Not just because their music videos had shocking humor and celebrity parodies, but because in between their biggest pop hits and more serious songs were some of the raunchiest tunes you'd ever find on a CD. I'm talking all-time classics like When You F*** Grandpa, Did He Tell You That He Loved You? Or It's Mother's Day, I'll Be F***ing Sucking and Touching. And of course their magnum opus, I Wanna F*** a Dog in the Ass.
I wanna f*** a dog in the ass. Tried to f*** your dad in the ass.
Among their repertoire of funny joke tracks was one they called the country song, a song that they would change the lyrics to periodically throughout the years. Now the song itself isn't all that special, it's really just more of Tom DeLonge singing about his dad's ass again, but just as the song comes to an end, at the very last line, they chime in with this little nod to the show.
Shut your face, Uncle.
It's a short but sweet little reference that acted as a testament to how popular South Park had become. And of course, it was also the band's way of showing that they were fans of the show. Now, I don't know if Trey Parker and Matt Stone were aware of the nod, but I like to think that they put Blink-182 in the episode Christian Rock Hard as their way of giving them a little nod back.
As I'm speaking, more musicians are arriving. It looks like Alanis Morissette, Blink-182, Britney Spears, and dozens of others.
I know that's probably not the real reason, but it's my headcanon and there ain't a goddamn thing you could do about it. Also, fun fact, when Blink-182 played the country song on their next tour just a year later, Mark would usually replace the Uncle F***er line with a reference to Timmy.
Good Timmy.
Okay, let's be real, you knew this one was coming, I said it in the intro, and every South Park fan worth a damn knows that Eminem loves South Park. I mean, think about it, they're a match made in heaven. South Park is like an edgy version of Peanuts, and Eminem's penis is the size of a peanut.
My penis is the size of a peanut. Have you seen it? No, you ain't seen it. It's the size of a peanut.
Much like Blink-182, Eminem was a supermassive troll at the height of his career. In fact, his Slim Shady character is basically the reason he got as famous as he did. And that character had a lot in common with South Park. It was funny, critical of American culture, and unafraid to say pretty much anything. Also, yes, I'm saying Slim Shady had those qualities, as in past tense, because I don't think the new Slim Shady hits quite the same. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like the old Slim Shady wouldn't be saying shit like, I hop on tracks like a kangaroo. Also,
that's an awfully hot coffee pot.
But I digress, because what really matters is that Eminem has referenced South Park more than any other musician out there. And it all starts with the most infamous track of all, The Kids.
And there's really nothing else to say. Drugs are just bad and hard.
If you haven't heard The Kids, that should be the first thing you do after watching this video. It's a hilarious cautionary tale about drugs that is loaded up the ass with fake South Park voices. And it's not just a subtle nod to the show either. In fact, it's so explicitly ripping off South Park that at the end of the song, he even says that South Park will probably sue him.
South Park is gonna sue me.
It's a great track, and probably my favorite reference on this list, but it's far from the only time that Eminem has referenced South Park in some way. For example, on the song Fack, he does a Cartman voice throughout the entire chorus, where he purposely mispronounces the word to sound more like Cartman's voice from the early episodes. I don't think he's ever confirmed this to be a reference to Cartman, but the voice is so similar that it's kind of hard to think of anything else when you hear it. Plus, there's also another line from the song where he talks about shoving gerbils up his ass.
Now see that gerbil? Grab that tube, shove it on my butt.
And I know that technically, the idea of shoving a gerbil up your ass has been around for decades. Yes, you needed to know that information, you're welcome. But given Eminem's love for the show, I think it's a pretty safe bet that he was actually referencing Lemmiwinks here from the goated episode Death Camp of Tolerance.
Lemmiwinks, you must find your way out of this place or you will surely die.
Now, since there are so many South Park references in Eminem's music, I'm just gonna spitfire through them now to save us all a little time. Sound good? Okay. On the song Marshall Matters, Eminem compares himself to Cartman.
Like some 26-year-old skinny car. God damn it!
On the song Untitled, he references the old trope of Kenny dying.
In other words, I'm a bastard, looking at me like I killed Kenny.
On the song WTP, Eminem makes another reference to Kenny and mentions South Park directly.
But when it comes to them trailers in them South Parks, muffle it, cause homie, that hood's tighter than Kenny's.
On the song Criminal, he does the Saddam Hussein voice.
Come on, relax, guy. I like amen, right, Ken? Give me an amen.
And this last one I know thanks to the comments on my previous video, but Eminem samples Reality from Safe Space when he's giving his speech. And then later in the song, he also says this.
Would this rhyme be okay if South Park did it?
Okay, screw you guys.
Would it make you less angry if Cartman spit it?
God damn it.
Now, while that concludes all of Eminem's references to South Park in his music, as an added little bonus here, since we're already talking about Eminem, you know I gotta mention the Slim Shady Show, because it's too crazy not to talk about. Now, I won't go into too much detail here, because I'm gonna do a full video on this show very soon, but back in 2000, Eminem had a short-lived web cartoon called The Slim Shady Show, and in the first episode of that show, Slim Shady and the gang actually go directly to South Park, where they meet Officer Bar Brady, the four boys, Leanne Cartman, Chef, and a girl named Wendy Testicleburger.
Ah, there she is, Wendy Testicleburger. Look at those long legs, those curves. I want a piece.
The premise is that the boys had beaten young Marshall Mathers and his friends at a game of basketball, so the group decides to crash their celebration party and mess with them for revenge. They do stuff like giving Cartman laxatives and dumping Viagra into the punch bowl, which leads to some absolutely insane stuff that I could never show on YouTube, and honestly, stuff that shouldn't be shown anywhere in general. But it's still a pretty wild crossover that makes for the ultimate Eminem South Park reference.
How can you talk with my balls in your mouth?
How you guys liking these references so far? You having fun with them? Are you enjoying the goofy little nods? Cause this next one's kinda serious. I'm talking some real high-level genius stuff here, okay? That's right, I'm talking about none other than the gay fish himself, Kanye West.
All right, now what do we know about fish sticks? They're breaded, they're fried, they're frozen. Then under me, we have rapper, genius.
Now see, those last two entries, they were coming from guys that liked South Park and referenced the show out of appreciation for it. But Kanye is different, because Kanye referenced South Park in response to them making fun of him. I'm sure you all know how the story goes. In the season 13 episode Fish Sticks, Jimmy comes up with the ultimate joke.
Say, Eric, do you like fish sticks? Yeah? You like putting fish sticks in your mouth? Yeah? Well, what are you, Eric? A gay fish?
Now everybody loves this joke except for Kanye, who is just incapable of understanding it because he takes himself too seriously. It's the South Park writers' way of making fun of Kanye's massive ego. Now that episode came out in April of 2009, just a few months before Kanye and Taylor Swift would have their infamous "I'ma let you finish" incident. So just by that, you know he was already a pretty emboldened dude by this point in his career. But surprisingly, his initial response to the episode was actually pretty cool. In response, he said, "South Park murdered me last night, and it's pretty funny. It hurts my feelings, but what can you expect from South Park?" Now, what's also cool is that he even seems to take their criticism to heart when he says, "I just want to be a doper person," which starts with me not always telling people how dope I think I am. I need to just get past myself. And then finally adding, "I'm sure the writers at South Park are really nice people in real life. Thanks for taking the time to draw my crew." Now, for anybody that knows Kanye, that's actually a pretty cool and unexpected response. But the thing is, just a little over a year later, he put out his next big album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And on the track Gorgeous, he says,
"Choke a South Park writer with a fish stick."
Now, the existence of this overtly aggressive line has led people to believing that Kanye doesn't get the fish sticks joke in real life. Everybody is always saying, "It's just like the episode, he doesn't get it." But I think that's bullshit. Kanye got the joke and the message, but he's also an egotistical asshole, so it still pisses him off anyways. That's why in the song Made in America, he's still complaining about it.
Damn, South Park had them all laughing.
Because he's fixated on the fact that he was criticized so publicly. And unfortunately, it seems like ever since then, he's maintained that resentment, despite the fact that his initial response was so cool. And to this day, or as recently as 2021, Kanye is still showing signs of carrying that resentment.
South Park had jokes about fist sticks. To this day, the whole team could kiss this stick.
Alright, so we're finally at the mysterious last part of the video. I'm sure you're all just dying to hear what's so special about this final example, and now you're gonna find out. But first, I got 2 more songs to quickly mention just for the sake of completion, and they're by Drake and Royce da 5'9". Now, I'm not gonna do a whole story on them like I did with the last 3. I'm just gonna go over the lines real quick and then move on to the far more interesting part of this section. But for the sake of completion, let's start with Drake. Now, I've personally never been a big fan of Drake. I find him kind of annoying and fake, but I gotta admit, this line is pretty good. It comes from the song 6 Man off of his all-time best mixtape. If you're reading this, it's too late.
You know the truth, let's not pretend. I'm not your friend, not your guy, I'm not your buddy.
Obviously, this is a reference to how South Park depicts Canadian culture as they did in the season 12 episode Canada on Strike.
I'm not your buddy, friend. He's not your friend, guy. I'm not your guy, buddy. He's not your buddy, friend. I'm not your friend, guy.
And I mean, you gotta love the context. Drake's Canadian, the reference is Canadian. It's a good line. Now, the next reference comes from Royce da 5'9", who is famously friends with Eminem, is a longtime collaborator with him, and was featured on the Slim Shady LP track Bad Meets Evil. On his track, On the Boulevard, he has a line where he says,
"And you would never hear, oh my god, they killed Kenny, bitch, this ain't South Park."
It's pretty similar to Eminem's line on Untitled that even came out at around the same time, but yeah, that's all I got on these 2. Now it's time for the good stuff. This next band is unlike any other artist that we've talked about today because instead of being a reference to South Park, the entirety of South Park is actually a reference to them. For decades now, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have been big fans of a band called Ween. In fact, Ween was even featured at the South Park 25th anniversary special and in the Chef Aid episode from season 2.
Chef was the guy who told us to do a country album.
No, dude, that was Steve's idea.
Oh, then who's Chef?
I don't know, dude. I thought you knew him.
Oh, well. Anyways, here's our song. The many colors in the hormone rainbow.
Now, Ween, they're a weird band. They like to get silly and make funny voices, and some of those voices sound eerily familiar to voices on South Park, despite the fact that they predate both the show and even the Spirit of Christmas short that began the South Park universe. Now, supposedly, Trey Parker had at one point made a statement that Ween served as the inspiration for some of the voices on South Park, or at least that's what people say on Reddit, but unfortunately, I couldn't find any evidence to back that up, so I don't know if that's actually true. But you can find 2 fairly clear examples of this on their 1992 album Guava. One comes from the track Flies on My Dick, which, let's be real, is a great title. But towards the end of the song, you can hear a background voice that sounds very similar to Timmy. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, the resemblance is uncanny. It sounds like Timmy through and through. And again, this song came out like 8 years before Timmy ever existed, so there's definitely some credibility to the idea that they inspired Trey and Matt with their goofy voices, especially given that they're both such huge fans of Ween. But this next one is even more significant. On the track Push the Little Daisies, their lead singer Gene has his voice pitched up. And as the song goes on, he gets progressively more intense, and it just builds and builds and builds until eventually he starts to sound a lot like a certain evil fat kid that we all know and love.
Watch the little daisy grow, little daisies grow, and just push the little daisies to make them come up.
Now, I'll admit that to me, this one isn't as strong of a resemblance to Cartman as the other one was to Timmy, but still, I can definitely hear it. And I know I'm not the only one considering how many others have commented on the subject. But I don't know, what do you think? Does it sound like Cartman? Should I ask you to let me know in the comments below and just farm engagement like some corporate YouTuber? I mean, I am making a listicle video already as it is, so it wouldn't exactly be that much of a stretch to do it. And it's not like a video of this nature needs a proper conclusion anyways, so farming engagement would be a good way to go out. I don't know, what do you think? Should I farm you guys for engagement like a corporate YouTuber? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, hit that like button and suck my